Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is Wednesday, 24th of January, 2024. My name is Mati, and I'll be your host today. We have a couple of discussion topics, but before we jump to those, a couple of announcements. 1:30 deadlines. Two important days to remember is Thursday, February 8th, which is the Kubernetes enhancements proposal. If you have any enhancements, ping the leads, Eddie, myself, or others, or in the Slack channel for the appropriate labels and for the reviews so that we are able to go through all of those by that date. Also, an important thing, make sure to reserve some time for the production readiness reviews, which are being handled by a team of shadows and then the actual PR approvers. Ideally, I would say try to get your approvers a week prior to the actual deadline to make sure that your document gets looked at. Second important date is March 5th, which is the code freeze. So by that date, all the code has to be merged in the Kubernetes main repository. There's another date I didn't put here, which is a test freeze. So you can deliver the code by March 5th. The test freeze is a week later, but that doesn't apply mostly because most of the PRs are required to have tests right away. Another important date is KubeCon Paris, happening from March 19th through 22nd. I hope to see y'all there, whoever it will be. Make sure we will be having a session traditionally where myself, Eddie, and Katrina will be talking about the past 10 years because we're slowly coming over to the 10th anniversary of Kubernetes or later this year. Eddie, you want to talk about the SIG leadership changes? Eddie, can you hear us?
Sorry, I'm trying to switch to my desktop. Hold on. I'll go here for now. Yeah, we've had some awesome leaders throughout the years. Most notably, we need to give a shout out to Natasha. Natasha was the lead for the customized project. She became a SIG CLI co-chair. She's pushed a ton of stuff forward in terms of like getting customized stabilized. That gets shipped with kube control, was a big force behind the 5.0 release. So Natasha has stepped down from her lead role, and her team is getting reprioritized at Google. So she will no longer have the bandwidth to join us. So she's going to be stepping down from SIG CLI co-chair, and she is stepping down from customized leadership. So big thank you to Natasha for her time and her contributions to the project over the past couple of years. Natasha has chosen Hugo, who's actually on the call with us now, as her replacement for the SIG CLI, the customized sub-project lead. So Hugo's going to take over helping to lead customize. There may be a few other new maintainers here or there, new approvers that get added on. But we welcome Hugo. If you all haven't had a chance to meet Hugo before, he's awesome. We've met him at a few KubeCons. So maybe you'll get to see him at a KubeCon if you happen to go to one. But yeah, we welcome Hugo joining us for future SIG CLI stuff. And thank you for that. We also have another Marley who's on the call here. Marley has been contributing significantly to SIG CLI over the past year and a half, 2 years almost. Marley has been running the bug scrubs in my absence. And so we are going to be nominating and proposing Marley as the SIG CLI co-chair to join us on the chair team. So big shout out and thank you to Marley for her contributions and continued contributions. You should see those pull requests and emails go out. And yeah, we look forward to new folks joining us, and there's a lot of work to do. So thank you all that keep showing up.
Again, thanks a lot to everyone, and congratulations to the new leaders in SIG CLI. And with that, we can jump over to welcoming new members and attendees. Chris, if I'm reading your name correctly, you did point out yourself that you are new here. This is your time to say hello, tell what specific things are bringing you over to SIG CLI, what you are interested in working on, and so forth. And the same invitation is basically to other folks who are new to this call.
Hi. Yeah, so my name's Chris. I have been trying to contribute to open source and got a lot of good tips about, and I use Kubernetes, my profession is site reliability engineer and related, and I use Kubernetes, so that's why I'm here. And I have a friend who is also part of the Kubernetes open source community and highly recommended SIG CLI. It's a great place to start to join, and so that's why I'm here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I guess Daniel kind of volunteered to be the next person to say hi to everyone.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I've been around mostly in the cluster API community. Yeah, so this is my first time SIG CLI. Nice to see familiar faces and new faces. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Do we have anyone else who is new to the call?
Hello everyone. I am Devansh Kumar. I am a third year student in India in National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. And this is the first time I'm attending the SIG CLI meeting. And I'm new to the Kubernetes community as a whole. And I'm just looking to look into issues where I can contribute to.
Welcome. Do we have anyone else? I think I'm recognizing the reminder of the participants list that I'm scrolling through. But if I miss anyone, feel free to speak up. Okay, hearing none. Do we have any particular CAP updates that people want to bring to this group before we jump to the main discussion points? Okay, hearing none. If you change your mind, there will be still some time towards the end. We can return to your topic. So let's move over to the main discussion points. I see that Hugo is already responding to the first person, Akaris. I'm not sure if I see the owner of this issue, but it looks like it's being already handled by Hugo. So speak now, or we can consider the topic handled. Okay, jumping quickly over to the next topic. Daniel, I believe the next two topics are yours.
Yeah, the first thing I just wanted to ask for, I guess, triage of a PR that I opened. It's a small change. It's actually been here for a good long time. I just haven't been able to join the meeting. Small change, but philosophically, it maybe there's some controversy. So what I'm proposing is to amend the list of sub-resources that are sort of recognized, let's say, by kubectl commands. And I'm adding the ephemeral containers sub-resource. And this is important as a use case because of the kubectl debug functionality. And kubectl debug for some use cases requires the ephemeral containers to specify their own security context that maybe differs from the pod sort of parent security context, and the way that must be done is when the ephemeral container sub-resource is first created, that needs to be done using a patch. Currently, the alternatives is to just use curl and let's say kubectl proxy together, but it would be great to have sort of first class support for a kubectl patch command, and then there are other commands like edit that can be useful. Now, of course, ephemeral containers are immutable, but then again, the edit command, that still works for many other resources that are immutable. So anyway, that's a summary.
Okay, so I did open the cap, which does describe the sub-resource flag, which is behind the piece of code that you're trying to modify. And my first question would be if ephemeral containers is an officially supported sub-resource in the API surface.
Is it an officially supported sub-resource?
Sub-resource in the API resource, which basically means both of these that we currently keep, the status and scale, those are officially supported in the API. So for example, if you go to the URL of any pod and then you add /status, that will actually return a valid sub-resource from a particular pod, which will be the status field. In a similar fashion, the scale can be both written and read. Getting the scale will give you information about how many objects of a particular kind. For example, for replication controllers or replica sets, that will give you actually the number of replicas, or will allow you to scale up and down your replicas. Similar for other workload controllers. And status will allow you to get just the part of the usual resource definition. That's why we introduced and we added this flag sub-resource. As far as I'm concerned, ephemeral containers are only part of the pod spec, but there is no ephemeral containers sub-resource in the API surface that you can access. That's why I would probably say that this is not a thing that we would be willing to accept, because that's not the goal of this particular command.
I couldn't find the raising hand button. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I put it in the chat about the possible cap because we are aware of the limitations in the kubectl debug stemming from these static profiles. And I think we need to customize ephemeral containers before they are created in the pod. And I agree with the concerns Maciej pointed out about this is very specific to the pods. And additionally, I think, as you said, they are meant to be immutable. And if we enable modifying this sub-resource via edit, patch, or replace, this would be counterintuitive to the motivation behind this. And I think instead of enabling editing in day 2, I think it is better to propose a way to modify these ephemeral containers in kubectl debug. And I think, yeah, there should be only one way, and this should be this cap, I think.
So, yeah, I want to just respond to that. Maybe I'm mixing. Maybe I'm not saying something correctly. So today, to create custom ephemeral containers, right, that can't be created, that are totally valid ephemeral containers, but can't be created by kubectl debug. I use a patch verb on, I suppose, on the pod, but I thought it was patching the ephemeral containers sub-resource. And
each time a new ephemeral container is created, and if you want to use the current one, you cannot modify it, but you can also attach to it and continue using it.
That's right. Yeah. So in any case, maybe maybe a different way of addressing the need is this cap that you're sharing, this add custom profiling, that could be maybe a narrower scope, but it wasn't clear to me, having made my proposed change just locally and having used my own modified kubectl locally, the commands, so using patch and edit worked and sort of worked intuitively, and of course, like I said, yes, ephemeral containers are immutable, but so are many other resources, and I can use kubectl edit, to, let's say, view the resources in an editor, and then if I do make a change, I'll get an error displayed. So yeah, I wasn't aware, I think, of the the limited scope of that sub-resources kept, but it's a little strange to me. I'll have to dig into the nuances of sub-resources versus ephemeral containers just being on a pod.
I'll make sure to leave a comment pointing to both the cap describing the sub-resource and the idea behind it. I'll try to look up also the documents which are describing the sub-resources in the API surface. The confusion that might be coming from the patch specifically is because patch is very versatile with regards to targeting a specific piece of any resource definition, where you want to modify just the ephemeral containers or just a one particular field in the entire resource. But that was the main motivation behind the status. But if you look in the actual code execution, they are trying to target a specific sub-resource API, from what I remember. This last time that I looked into the sub-resource implementation. So that's where I would be expecting some issues with the approach of adding the ephemeral containers, or possibly not within the patch. Patches, we had a couple of discussions with regards to adding the patch to the sub-resource. Eventually, we've decided that we will potentially reconsider before the final graduation. I just looked it up, and it's the cap is still in a beta phase, so we're still waiting for, if I remember correctly, Nikita and someone else. I'm not saying that ephemeral containers are not. That's something that I don't know, honestly. If ephemeral containers, there is a high possibility that ephemeral containers are actually a sub-resource, referring to the comment. I just don't know, honestly.
It's fine. So I'll look at the comment, that you leave the links. If I can provide, right, sort of more documentation, make it. I think I need to make the proposal, a little more formal. That's what it sounds like. That's fine.
I'm just the piece of code that I have open on the screen is basically has all the sub-resources for pod defined, which includes proxy, attach, exec, and port forward. And then there's also log, which is defined here, but I don't see, and there's also eviction, which also is a separate rest, but I might be wrong. I wasn't tracking that closely the ephemeral containers, so there's a high possibility that the ephemeral containers are actually supported. Oh, it looks like it can possibly be there. I'll double check, and if that's the case, then yes, your PR will be totally valid. I'll make sure to have a closer look at it later this week in that case.
Probably want to add some kind of test cases for it though before we accept it.
Okay.
Okay, so
I'm not sure what we would add, but just saying.
Yeah. I did digging into the API docs is for 129. So, Daniel, what we're specifically talking about is and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mache, but the sub-resources flag was originally intended for sub-resources that are actually defined on CRDs. So CRDs can actually opt into a sub-resource when they're being created, and it is a first-class field. And that's what I linked here, is that scale and status are both of those first-class fields for CRDs, and that was the original intention behind that flag. I don't know if that's documented that well, but I'm pretty sure that's what we intended.
That was the original intention, but if ephemeral containers are also exposed in the pods definition, we might consider that as an option in the sub-resource.
Okay.
Like I said, I would need to double check because I wasn't aware if ephemeral containers is actually exposed as a sub resource. Yeah, I don't see that here. So yeah, I need to definitely check the API and what we have there, because it maybe was there. I've never used it, so I wasn't sure if it's there, but possibly that's something that we can double check. I'll make sure to figure it out and comment on that issue.
Thank you. And I think that we've actually addressed the second bullet point that I had as well. So.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us, Daniel. Sorry your PR didn't get looked at. We got a ton, so appreciate you coming and poking us on it.
No problem. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for. I'm glad I got here because there's clearly more context that that I needed to see. So appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks a lot for bringing this up. Hugo, you're up next for. I'm trying to. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes. Can I take a first one? That's about our problem. I consider to using Helm concept to importing a Helm package in a customized code base. So due to our currently customized executing a Helm binary in a path directory. So, but that is hard to maintain. So, yeah, I'm currently considering to importing a Go Go package with a Helm source code. So, but I care about this changing effect for Kubernetes. So, do you have any problem over this change?
So we just want to import this as, instead of reaching out to the binary that should be installed on the same system is all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you basically stop relying on the binary, but rather just vendor the Helm SDK into customize.
Yeah, I consider so.
I see your main concern that you have is the additional size that this might have, especially on kubectl, because of the fact that kubectl vendors customize. So if customize starts vendoring Helm charts, we will grow both customize and also kubectl along the line.
So I have a PR out to Helm because one of the tools that my company works on basically ships Helm as a command. So this is, you can see 522 files. It's a big PR to kind of refactor some of Helm's code to make it easier to import. I don't know if this will actually help at all with what you're looking at, Hugo, or what submodules you're needing to import. But I just wanted to point this out.
I would probably, if that's the case, I would probably defer eventual decision until we have Eddie's PR or a response from the Helm community.
Yeah.
And we will know how big the eventual scope of the additional libraries that we will have to pull in. For now, a reasonable approach would be to try to provide a valid message or more informative message or requirement that if you are working with Helm charts in Customize, you need to make sure that you have a Helm installed and available in Path. And whenever it's not there, providing a reasonable feedback about the scope and the error, what's the root cause, would be a immediate solution that I would probably try to implement. So document this and make sure that people are aware that they should have Helm installed. If there's a requirement about specific Helm, I would be even explicit about, oh, we support Helm, this particular version, or what is the minimum required version, and make sure that this is explicitly in the error. If you can't find it, then just point to where to get it, even with a link, and make it very easy. But until we get Eddie's PR and figure out how big the scope will be, I would try not to import the Helm SDK because your concerns are perfectly valid, and I'm trying to keep the overall kubectl side in some reasonable size.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Jordan would kill us if we tried to import all of Helm. So we will, even if we work with Helm to maybe pull out like more common libraries that we can easily import, like they're pretty great folks. I've been talking to them a bunch. So yeah, any changes that we need, we can probably work together on for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Hugo, for bringing this up. Nina, you're up next.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm not sure if this is the right place to ask this, but I submitted my first PR, which fixes a client-side configuration issue where we weren't merging it correctly for in-cluster config. And the change is pretty small, and I was able to validate it locally running like kind and then a Docker container of kubectl. But I also, as part of this, added a new end-to-end test, and it is failing on the before suite. And it's kind of strange because like the failing logs show like the command that's failing, and I tried replicating it on my branch and main, and I get the same behavior when I use like the raw like kubectl call, right? And then testing it locally with the kubetest like 2 runner, and kind doesn't seem to reproduce the same error. So I was just wondering if anyone like is familiar with the end-to-end tests for kubectl and is available to like hop on a call for 15 minutes or can take a look at the failing stuff. But it like I can see like this doesn't feel like a flake because first like I couldn't find any similar logs, and then second like I did change the test, so it's probably like something I broke. But it's not failing the specific new test, it's failing in like in the before each because of the setup.
I am happy to dig into this with you. I've spent a bunch of time in those tests.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, cool. So I guess we have a volunteer. Moving on to the next one. Sriram, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. You're up next.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, so I made a PR for an issue that was triaged in the last bug scrub call, and this just changes the like the information that is printed when we run kubectl get HPA, and I updated the existing tests so that they pass. But I wanted to know like if I need to add more test cases, and the triage bot also commented that it requires an API review since the printers.go file was changed, and I wanted to know what I can do next.
I think this is rather simple, simple change. You're just adding a resource name. Probably the only thing that I would change is making sure that you, I would add a colon over here. So instead of, maybe the example will be more readable. So instead of having this, something like that would be much more readable. So you're basically getting CPU and the value, because CPU, and this is a little bit confusing. If you can address that, then I guess the rest is good to go. I'm not sure why there's API requirement.
It was left in the PR description.
Ping me on Slack when you get this fixed. This is pretty simple fix, and I'm pretty sure I'm happy to tag it as soon as you fix that, and that will probably apply to across all of those.
Awesome.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Thanks.
Cool. Okay. Do we have any other topics that were not added to the agenda beforehand? Hearing none, thank you very much all for today, and see you next time. Bye, folks.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks all.
I guess.